Into solo versus stats, this PvZ best of 3. As we have to the top left hand side, our blue side player. It is Solar. Going up against the red Protoss to the bottom right hand side, teammate of Solar, Stats. Well, this could become a very interesting PvZ, couldn't it? Could get very intriguing. Solar and Stats played fairly recently in, I'd like to say, the GSL Super Tournament. So, yeah, kind of excited to see what comes this time around. I believe that was a Stats 3-2 victory. It did go to a Game 5 if I remember correctly, so I believe it was Stats that came out of that 3-2, and I believe even in one of the games Stats that he lost was kind of far ahead, and things kind of went a little bit wrong. Anyways, we see the drone coming in, and we're just going to be seeing the probe coming along and just being nibbled away. There's an extractor going to throw him down here. Hatch gas pool to start us off. Obviously we just saw some PvZ, but this could be completely different, so excited to see what's going to happen as we get this set up and we get this rolling, and we look to see what's going to be going down. Probe is going to be nibbled away at, and we are going to be seeing the Nexus being dropped from Stats in the natural expansion. It's going to be seeing this probe moving forwards, and the Cyber Core will get placed as well, so Cyber Core getting ready to drop into position. And yeah, so far so good. Looking I mean, I can't believe we've got an event like this again. If you guys remember, kind of back a year or so ago, we had the Leifeng Cups and the Doyu Cups, and I was actually casting those a lot. I guess just over about a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, maybe even a year and a half even. Actually, it was like, it must have been like a year and a half ago. We had so many of these like Doyu Cups and Leifeng Cups which were organized by Chinese organizers, and they were such awesome content. Like, we had the best Korean players on a very regular basis. We had so many great, we had so much great action going on, and it was just almost daily. Like, and while this isn't almost daily, it's a weekly event, it's nice to have something like this back, where, a lot of tournaments have shown up, BTSL Korea, obviously Lima League still goes on, Ballistics Brawl is on, there's still a lot of Korean content out there, but it's really nice for myself to be able to have something to cast from Korea as well, because unless I organize something, I didn't have anything for a long time, so it's really cool to see just something extra available once again. And really excited to cover this in coming weeks, and hopefully it's a long-term thing. Hopefully this is something which is going to stick around in the future, which would be awesome. As we see a Stargate dropping down from Stats, and otherwise, the Overlord just sat overhead. We see probes being chrono boosted out, and everything just getting set up here across the two bases of Stats. First Phoenix on the way, and this is obviously looking very much so like the build we saw from Stats in game number 2 against Bly. But this time we might actually get to see it play out a little bit more, because, we actually may very well not see a Nidus network all in Stats in the next minute. So, Phoenix into an Oracle as well, and again, the follow-up from this is likely to be the second gateway into the Robo facility. Yada yada. Again, I'm saying all these obvious bits and pieces. It's what we expect it to be. PvZ is very well figured out and very well defined at the moment. People really do have a very good understanding of what to expect from this matchup. They know, like, okay, well, usually you see, an Archon-based play in towards charge, in towards some pressure, and just moving on in that sort of, setup. So, as this Phoenix moves across the map, we do see a Robo comes down before a second gateway. Now, that is a difference. Robo Twilight just a little bit faster this time around, maybe just feeling safe against Solar, maybe feeling as though there's no pressure to kind of get something like that up, as he just catch a drone trying to become a Spore Crawler. It's actually quite nicely done as he cancels a drone that was about to finish here as well. So Stats being enough of a threat to do just a little bit of damage. It's not masses of damage, but little bits and pieces. Again, skipping the second gateway just allows the tech to come down that little bit sooner. The extra gateways can just be added on later instead. And so we are going to be seeing the Templar Archives very shortly. So this is what we saw from Stats in Game 2 on Neon Violet Square against Bly. But this time, obviously, Solar's playing very differently than Bly did. His lair comes up around 4 minutes, which is very, very standard. Just go into the faster lair, which is usually for a faster Hydralisk Den. And with the faster Hydralisk Den, you can generally go in towards the Lurker Den a lot faster, later in the game, because you have the Hydras from a very early stage. It became the meta quite heavily around December, actually, or the end of November, December. I remember watching the what was it, the WSG European Finals in Barcelona. I was casting there with Loco and Roddy and Valdez, and that was when we really started to see this 4-minute lair time, 3 minutes and 50 seconds lair timing becoming extremely popular. It was around the Lingbane Hydra era starting to change a little bit, and people just started to realize, well, no more +1 melee opens and stuff like that. It was really a big change up. So kind of cool to see as we do see those lings coming down the south side. We do see Groove Spines on the way up right now. As we have a charge upgrade coming through, a few more High Templar just morphing in. All of this just getting set up and ready to go. 10 Hydras about to pop, so it is a lot of Hydras, and a lot of the time this finer, faster layer upgrade kind of allowed for that very quick, you know, like Hydra all in off of like 50 drones, but obviously that's not really the case anymore because you've got to get 2 Hydra upgrades. Makes it very difficult to actually go in towards a, you know, to try and justify sort of any sort of Hydra-based attack super early in the game, just because not having speed obviously slows things down, not having range makes it a lot weaker as well. Zealots and some Archons are going to be moving forwards. We see the Queen getting lifted here by the Phoenix. And we are going to see the Archons coming underneath this Queen to shut that down. Again, Hydrogen Queen is going to come up from the natural expansion as we do see those Archons still getting to work. It's amazing how long these Archons can just sit here and deal damage for us. We have just a couple of Zealots on the ground. Warp Prism play is very good so far, but the Warp Prism is going to go down. Stats is overcommitted. He did get his Warp in off though, which allows a few more Zealots to come out at least. The last Archon shot takes down one more Hydralist, but that will be about it for now. Solar. There's also in some pressure with some Zealots on the third base, so he has to clean this up as well. He had to pull his drones away, so it's been a scary couple of moments for Solar, but killing the Warp Prism is especially huge because now the Archons are gone, now that pressure is gone, there's no kind of follow-up to that. You know, if there was still Archons dropping around his main base, Solar is in a lot of trouble because then having to come over here to deal with Zealots is just another distraction that allows even more damage to be dealt. As you will see Zerglings coming around the left-hand side. And looking to see where they can go now instead. There's a couple of Archons and Immortal going to be gathering together. Shield batteries are setting up across the front of this left-hand side base. And the Ling's trying to run on through, trying to get past that Adept maybe. But the Wall-Off is there. So they're just kind of doing a bit of a check here, like, are you, hello, you know, knock knock. Are you, you know, is your wall full? Are you at home? Are you safe? Yes, you are. Okay, cool. My Lings will come back another day. So, Solar just backs off. Obviously no need to really kind of commit on through or anything like that. As we will be seeing a few more Hydras coming out, Evolution Chamber coming through as well here from Solar, another couple of drones. I was kind of wondering for a moment or so, he has been down on workers. I was wondering if he was actually cutting workers to just go for a Ling Hydra attack as his next upgrade finished. Then he started up drones again. I think he'll get aggressive because the upgrades are coming through anyways. But I don't think he's really going to throw everything into this. I don't think the plan is to, you know, commit or die. Because he does have the drones coming up. He will have the economy. That Adept still held on position. Storm started up here from stats and now the +2 attack as well, so it's that sort of stage of the game where he feels he can get that. Nice revelation is going to give him the full information on where those Hydras are. Wow, cuts the army in half, and that revelation is so key right there. And that's what makes it so scary for Solo. You know, if you're revelated, your opponent knows exactly where you are with exactly what you have. And if Stats sees an opportunity, he will jump on it, and that's exactly what he did right there, to just take down so many units so quickly. That's obviously really exciting to see as you see those Lings going to back away off to the right-hand side. And we do see more of an army here from Stats gathered together and pushing in towards the upper left. Lings and Hydras are gathering up. Stats just has to be a little bit cautious sitting here on the edge of creep. A couple more High Templar going to warp in. Warp Prism still just sat overhead for the moment too. One single Zergling comes around the right side. And we are going to be seeing as a few more Zealots just warp on in. Let's push forwards. There's no actual observer or anything here, which is fine. There's not like his lurkers, but it would have dealt a little bit of damage to the creep spread. We do just have the single High Templar with one storm on it. Lands in the Hydras. It's a very good storm for only having one storm available. I just wonder if the lack of more storms really kind of stops Stats from doing more here. Another round of Zealots though. If his Archons and Immortals last that long, he is microing well with the Prism to keep them alive for a while. But he needs those Zealots because otherwise he's really not going to be able to stick around with the rest of this army. But he is able to stick around, and that's going to be GG. Stats picks up game number 1 here. But do check it out in the meantime, as it should be good in a moment or two. We're just in a day or two. I'm just waiting for that to all get confirmed. It's just the start of the new month. Things are just running a little bit slower than everyone would like. Anyways, we're into Abiogenesis for game number 2 of this best of 3. So let's see what happens. To the bottom right, down a map. Our red Zerg player. This is Solar. And he is up against the blue Protoss to the top left-hand side of the map. From Splice, it is Stats. So, game number 2 of this best of 3. And Stats has just been looking like a monster today. 2-0 Gumiho, 2-0 Bly, and now 1-0 up against Solar. It's weird because even when that attack didn't go so well for him, I don't know if it didn't go so well for him, but he lost everything. But I guess he did quite a lot of damage. He came out in a worker lead, then catching those units on the map was obviously very, very painful. And from that point, he just had to execute the attack correctly, which he did, to be able to take the win in the end, as we are going to be seeing that probe taking quite a few hits, and there's only 5 health left, but obviously blocking that position for a little while. But the base over here came down instead. It's not the end of the world. Just threw down the pool and the gas first as well, which isn't really a bad thing either on Abiogenesis. So weird that we're starting to see this map more and more frequently. Like, people just keep on cracking this map out here. It's crazy. We see it so often. So very often. What's up, Mark BT? Thank you so much for the cheer 500. Be on the road a lot and good to see me. Dude, good to see you too. And it feels as though it's actually been forever. I kind of feel like I maybe missed a couple of months of resub or something. Wow, my memory's just terrible. Thank you so much for the cheer 500 on top of the resub. Really do appreciate it. See some love in the chat for Mark BT again, guys. Wardi.exe was unresponsive for a moment. Yeah. Sometimes I look off to the side and I have to check to see if we're getting into another game, stuff like that. This casting thing is kind of hard, man. There's so much to get done. So much to do. Adept shows up. He's going to just double check there is a third hatchery coming down, which is immediately very important information. I mean, knowing that the third hatchery is here allows him to know that, well, it just allows him to know straight away that, well, he just knows that, you know, Solar's going in towards a very standard sort of play. He's going to find himself a couple of drones so far with this Adept. I'm just going to sit here. The Queen should be able to pick up the kill on this, but he will get another Zerglin or two as he goes, which is nice. I mean, just making the most of an Adept which was already committed in, because he wanted to grab another couple of Zerglings, a couple of drones, and he got one extra for committing into that third base, so works out. With the Stargate follow-up, the first Phoenix comes out to hunt down the Overlords, although that Overlord is actually backing away. Trying to hide here, I guess. I mean, the longer you keep it alive, the later you have to build the new Overlord as well, and, you know, the Phoenix doesn't know where the Overlord went to, so it does take a few seconds sometimes, and as it does find it, okay, sure, it'll get the kill. Again, this is a few extra seconds where Solar didn't have to replace the Overlord, and even still, the Phoenix turns away. Stats didn't quite notice it there, so just missing out on that info as the Oracle pops. Obviously, the Lings at the front aren't a threat at the moment because there's a Zelt, there's an Adept. And this is a very weird game of Abiogenesis, because usually on Abiogenesis, you expect to see an aggressive play. You expect to see, you know, roaches or something to kind of make things change up, or the pros player being aggressive. You know, we very rarely see Abiogenesis starting out with a very normal kind of expansion here, which is exactly what this is from Solar. Fast free hatches. You know, you really couldn't pick apart any kind of real surprises in this sort of section of the game so far. This just looks very normal. I mean, even Stats is going into the exact same build that we saw him use in game number 1. Just no change up for what is really just such a small map, just such a weird map, which is a map which we see so many different strategies on because of all of that. Oracle will dive into the Spore Core with the Queen lifted, can justify taking some hits. I feel like it left in a bit of an awkward route though, so it took a few more hits, maybe 1 or 2 more hits than I thought it would. Again though, it's another few workers killed, and the more workers you kill, the more Solar is slowed down. The more effective your follow-up attacks will be, because he has to spend a bit more time replacing drones, a bit more time with a bit of a lesser economy, and hence he has a fewer units when he actually does get to come into play here, as we see a couple of Lings currently chasing this Warp Prism. The Prism's just on a bit of a journey across through to the right-hand side. Let's see, hasn't even had a chance to morph in the High Templar yet, as obviously the Oracle is here though, so you can activate, so you push those Lings back. Is there more Lings out? I don't think so. This Queen is already coming to the edge here, and there is one Zerglin coming through, but the Oracle keeping its energy up to push Zerglins away just allows the Archons to come up safely here. So straight into the Archons. Now he's going to start dropping, but of course the Queens are here to try and target down that Prism. He lets the Archons take the lead, and he pulls the Prism back immediately, and it's exactly what you need to see. He doesn't have a transfuse on the other Queens yet. He actually targeted the one Queen with a transfuse, and that was actually very nicely done. Now he gets a second Queen as well. Archon Micro is good as well, and just the Queens are not having a good time at all here. Stats control today so far has been absolutely impeccable, and that's going to be another example of it. Perfectly done to just get the absolute maximum out of this Warp Prism and Archons. It just really does so much here with those Archons, keeping them alive for so much longer than you would kind of expect them to be. Crazy. Zealots will charge in. They'll pick off a few Zerglings here as they move back in towards the center. Another couple of gateways coming out towards the front of the third base now, which stats get set up. Stats for the third base coming through. I'm just going to be seeing this Spire from Solar. It's dropping down as well in the third base. Archon's coming forwards, and they will be able to pick off a Queen here. And the War Prism just lifts back up, and I love it. Archon's low on health, but he knows he can stick around, just get another couple of drone kills at the very end of this, just continuing to get so much done. So we're going to be seeing Zealots from Stats coming back up to the top side, and we are going to be having the Spire coming into the third base as well, as you do see the Phoenix just poking away at the Overseer, and the Queen again pushing that Phoenix back. Little drones come through. We are just going to be seeing one or two of them going down. Roach is moving forwards, and we're just going to be seeing the Queen again getting another couple of shots off. But obviously the Prism just regenerates shields over time, right? So the Warp Prism itself is still staying very, very safe. Warp Prism isn't really in any trouble of its own at all. Plus one attack coming through, and Archon morphing in an Immortal on the way out. I mean, he's already got a couple of Immortals, so when you look at the army for the Protoss player here, it kind of feels like he has what he needs to fight against those Roaches. I feel like we've just been watching Solar take a beating so far. Union's loss was that one Adept for 12 drones, 16 Lings, triple Queen. That's actually a lot of resources lost. Meters on the way up, so the Spire came down, the meters are on the way, and that's obviously the switch here from Solar to maybe hope to find some damage of his own. I'm just a bit worried. One of the big things about meters is when you attack, you can always force like a base trading scenario where the Protoss will just counterattack. And you know, for example, Bly, when he tried to go meters earlier, it didn't work out because Stats was already attacking. And Solar now, while Stats wasn't attacking when I started to say this, I was about to say he may start to attack very soon. But not just that, it's such a small map that when you come across the map, you get over here so quickly that there's not a lot of time to buy time with the meters. You know, you can't really do too much to slow things down. Stats sees the meters, and I don't think there's a chance in hell he goes home. There's no reason to. He's got Stargates, so he'll start build some Phoenix. He'll warp in a Stalker or two to buy some time. Cannons are going to be finishing as well, so he's going to be able to pick his way through a couple of meters already. That Phoenix coming in from earlier in the game. And, well, he just knows for a fact that he's going to have a lot of an advantage when he pushes in towards this Roach Ravager army. Because there isn't the tech here that you expect to see. There isn't the upgrades here that are usually there. He's missing a lot because he's committed into those meters. So the ground army of Stats is going to roll on through, while Solar needs to do something with these Mutalisks. But so far, I mean, it just feels as though they've found absolutely nothing. And as a cannon comes into play over here, he's going to kill one meter. And honestly, the meter count is so low already and so damaged that I don't think he can really stick around at all. This fight continues, and Stats, you can see, yes, he's been losing out on some units, but the Micro has been here to get a lot more done. He actually dodges the Corrosive Bars with the Prism, and now the Prism might be able to warp in safely because the Corrosive Bars on cooldown. Oh, he's going to commit to this warp in because he knows it's just one bile. That's nicely done. He baited the 2 Corrosive Bars out initially, and then the second time around he was like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to show up and I'm going to, like, you know, do my cute little something and keep the